so my name is Quiana, Walton.
I'm Annabelle.
And this is our TOK presentation. So our real life situation is Kid Cudi checking himself into rehab due to his mental illnesses of depression and anxiety. He states that my anxiety and depression have ruled my life for as long as I can remember, and I can never leave the house because of it. I can't make new friends because of it. I don't trust anyone because of it, and I'm tired of being held back in life. I deserve to have peace. So through social media, he got many responses, and most of them were positive. On Twitter, they even started a hashtag dedicating it to him for highlighting the issues of mental illnesses within the Black community.
However, not all responses were positive. On the track titled Two Birds, One Stone, Drake disses Kid Cudi because of his struggle with mental illness, and he raps that Kid Cudi stays on Xan and perked up, so when reality sets in, he doesn't have to face it. And the path to our knowledge question and the questions we thought about were, if the world didn't have a negative influence on mental illness, would the situation have as much of an effect? And why aren't mental illnesses treated as seriously as physical illness? And also, how can you help mental illness patients be treated correctly and properly?
So that led to our knowledge question, which was, to what extent has the perception of mental illness changed over time, and how has it affected society? So what we know is that mental illness is defined as a diagnosis by a mental health professional as a behavior or mental pattern that may cause suffering or a poor ability to function in life. And our two ways of knowing are emotion and language. So emotionally, emotions provide us with energy in our search for knowledge and sometimes act to justify our beliefs. The 6 primary emotions are happiness, sadness, fear, anger, surprise, and disgust, and are found in all cultures.
Okay, language is the method of human communication, either spoken or written, and consisting of the use of words in a structured and conventional way. However, language can be unreliable and can fail.
So with our ways of knowing, relating it to our knowledge question, we said for emotion, we know that people typically feel a certain way when presented with a discussion of mental illnesses, and some people either feel upset or passive, while others are understanding and are able to explain their feelings easily.
Okay, and regarding language, in this case, people use language to determine why and why not mental illnesses are real because of what they have read or learned through language. People can induct or deduct a conclusion based on what they have experienced. Okay, so for our first knowledge claim, we said that mental illness is real and should not be treated as a taboo subject in society, but rather accepted that everyone functions in different ways. So why people might feel this way through language is that at points in history with severe mental health issues, or people with severe mental health issues were given labels like lunatics or psychos and confined into asylums. So these terms are used as derogatory terms today, and the term mental illness might sometimes also carry a negative connotation because of the lack of understanding by people. And this is bad because the stigma could lead to reluctance to seek help or treatment, fewer opportunities for work, school, or social activities, bullying, physical violence or harassment, and the belief that you might never be able to succeed at certain challenges if you can't improve your situation. Also, in many cases, health insurance doesn't adequately cover mental illness, and so this might also lead to add to the stigma against mental illness because it limits the amount of people that are able to seek treatment. And so for emotion, patients of mental illness would obviously feel that mental illness is real, as many symptoms of mental illness are related to emotion. However, because of the stigma, they could also feel that their feelings are unjustified or that it's something that is not meant to be talked about. So for example, if you hear people with mental illnesses being called names, you'll be less likely to seek professional help if you need it because you might feel ashamed or embarrassed.
So our counterclaim to this was that mental illnesses are not real and people are beginning to use it as an excuse to get out of accepting responsibilities and to gain attention. So emotionally, people may feel this way because of the way mental health issues are treated. For example, if you have bipolar disorder, you may use that as an excuse to be rude to someone, and then it may cause someone without a mental illness to feel spiteful and inferior towards you. It is unfair to use your mental illness as an excuse to not accept your responsibilities. So using language, people may feel this way because of the falsehoods that they have encountered with mental illness. Another example is if you're having a conversation with a person with mental illness about problems that you both may face. Some people may say that people with mental illnesses may try to distract them from their own difficulties, and this causes people without mental illnesses to have negative connotations with having conversations with people with mental illnesses.
Okay, so for our rebuttal, we said that the belief that mental health or mental illness does not exist is not logical because it has been proven by professional doctors who went to school for 8 or more years and has studied the brain to help society understand how we function. Although there have been many cases that people use their mental health as an excuse not to fulfill duties, not all patients are like that. Many of them do in fact have issues that mentally will not allow them to do certain tasks. And it's also noted that people do indeed use their mental illness for attention. However, that opens up many opportunities to talk about it more openly and leads to people being less ashamed of it. So for our knowledge claim, our second one, we said that mental illness is a condition that physically affects people. Why people might feel this way regarding language is that many scientists or doctors use language as a way to portray information regarding mental illnesses. So, for example, Mayo Clinic offers a psychological evaluation where through language, the mental health provider or the doctor evaluates your symptoms through thoughts and feelings. Okay, so for example, it's also known that poor emotional health can weaken your immune system, increasing your chances of getting common illnesses like the flu or colds. Also, when you're feeling stressed, you're less likely to pay attention to your well-being. So, for example, if you're depressed, you might not feel the need to eat, sleep, or exercise as much as your body needs, which could lead to fatigue, which is a physical symptom. So, among the most common types of mental illnesses in young adults that may be triggered by stress or schizophrenia is schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, severe depression, and substance abuse. Okay, so continuing on, also being communicated through language is proof that mental illness, specifically depression, physically affects the brain. So, for example, Dr. Jim Phelps, he's a neuroscientist, he says that there have been studies showing a change in brain activity when mood shifts. But there's also now research showing a change in brain shape, which appears to be associated with severe mood disorders, and the brain shrinks. And this brain shrinkage is called atrophy, and it's long been associated with Alzheimer's and dementia, but lately it has also been associated with obesity, back pain, and very clearly with depression. Okay, so continuing on. In 400 BC, the Greek physician Hippocrates started treating mental illness as a physical disease. So while it took a long time for modern medicine to finally be able to reliably diagnose mental illnesses, modern medicine now clearly defines mental disorders as diseases, and a part of their origin is biological. So why people might feel this way through emotion? So these are symptoms of mental illnesses. So feeling sad or down or confused, excessive fears or worries, extreme mood changes and highs and lows, withdrawal from friends and activities, significant tiredness, detachment from color-driven use, major changes in eating, excessive anger, and suicidal thinking. And while one could argue that many of these are merely mental and only affecting emotions, and that they do not affect anyone physically, many of these can lead to actions that do physically harm or affect the patient.
So our second counterclaim to this is that mental illnesses do not count as real diseases or physical conditions. Emotionally, people may feel this way because mental illnesses are not visible to the eye. For example, schizophrenia cannot be seen with the eyes, so there is no biological evidence that it is a brain disease or a chemical abnormality. According to CCHR International, which is a mental health watchdog, it states that mental illnesses are not mental diseases that everybody wants them to be seen as, but rather a blaming of psychiatry for pathologizing childhood behaviors. Using language, people may feel this way because of the use of mental illness words with ridiculed definitions. One example of this is that people who don't have OCD say they have OCD when they really mean that they like things to be clean or organized. When this is said, people know what you are trying to portray, and that breaks down a language barrier and creates a wider communication system.
Okay, so for our rebuttal, we said that it's unfair not to call mental illnesses mental diseases because it all takes place in the mind of the patient, and that society is becoming more advanced and will eventually create a better way to surveillance the brain and make new discoveries to prove that mental illnesses are real. And although that some mental illnesses can be used to describe words, it's unethical to use it if you don't actually have the illness, because using language like this allows people to manipulate words and to create their own meanings for them.
So to conclude, society has been affected greatly with the issue of mental illnesses. Now, with people researching and understanding it better, there is less room for miscommunications and negative results. However, mental illness is still greatly impacts society with negative connotations that stem from the falsehoods of mental health as a whole. Over time, it has gotten better, and people are better at seeking help and taking action as well. So then our second real-life situation was the yellow wallpaper / the rest cure. The Yellow Wallpaper is a novel written by Charlotte Perkins Gilman, and this connects to our first real life situation because of the way patients with mental illnesses were treated differently based on gender roles. During this time period, which was 1892, Gilman takes her real life situation of having nervous illnesses and being put to bed rest while if a male was in her place, he would be put on a temporary vacation. She explains that if the illness never got better on its own, the woman would be isolated for 6 to 8 weeks with the rest cure, which was created by Ware Mitchell. The effects of this caused mental health patients to believe that there was something wrong with them. Questions?
Thank you.